Intersection Magazine Podcast.
Welcome to Intersection Magazine Podcast. It's about 1 a.m. on Thursday, the 24th of October. The month of October is not yet over, but I think it would be appropriate for those of you who don't subscribe to give you a rough idea what we covered in the month of October. So this is the October 2024 Intersection Magazine Summary, Intersection Magazine Audio Summary. For the cover, we complete SSD and HDD, or static state drives and hard disk drives. We also share the 7 powers of Helmer's book. We share some perspectives on intellectual property from breakthrough attorneys and Tanzania Startup Association. And then we apply Helmer's 7 powers to a podcast and a magazine business. So welcome to this issue, summary of this issue of the October 2024 magazine. Thank you for subscribing, and we hope that we can continue to engage with you in the future. So in the October magazine, of course, I have a section where I give you the opportunity to learn some of the skills I have honed over the years. I have almost 15 years experience in web design and web hosting. And so I give you an opportunity to take part in a class that gives you the basics of web design, whether that's the creation of sites from first principles, using basic tools such as HTML, cascading style sheets, and JavaScript. I also take you through simple design using what you see is what you get editors. I'll also guide you through the process of getting your page hosted, whether you're doing that online or whether you're hosting it on your own with tools that are available for you to host. So we're putting together a course, probably about 2 intensive weeks. Hopefully, if you have your laptop, you can bring that. But we're working on a project in which possibly, we will be giving out laptops for those who pay the full price for the course. In this magazine, of course, as I shared before, we continue the conversation about solid-state drives and hard disk drives, which is the best tool for you. Then the conversation about intellectual property law in Tanzania and Zanzibar, and then the application of the 7 powers, or book by Helmer, and a little bit more. If you've been wondering about the issue of solid-state drives and hard disk drives, one of the issues that might come up is speed. The other issue that you might think about when you're buying or opting for these drives is to think about the lifespan or durability. Another thing you might be thinking about is, as I mentioned, durability, but also reliability. Now, the nature of these 2 drives is interesting because one has moving parts and the other one is pretty much a solid device. So those are some of the considerations you should be thinking about if you're traveling a lot, if you're going to have your laptop or your app or your device going through customs and highly magnetic fields and X-ray machines and things of that nature. The second issue you need to think about, or the third or fourth issue you need to think about, is security and the ability to recover your data, and of course capacity differences. Putting that all together, then the last thing you need to think about is, what does it mean for your pocket? Is it affordable? Is it something that you can work with or work on? Now, in our conversation about leadership and governance, we created a partnership with a group after having some frustration with processes around business expansion and legacy and the rise of the new generation. So I came across a group that's smack dab in the middle of this, trying to work with founders, with organizational leads on how to create boards and manage transitions and generational transfers. So Founders Freedom is a good group that you could look up in this regard. They're established in Kenya, and they have a LinkedIn page, so Founders Freedom, look them up. You won't be disappointed. Now, we also have the option, of course, of getting some publications from us. That is our survival kit for communication, as well as an index or a glossary of terms and acronyms. This will be helpful when you're negotiating or dealing in your daily life as a consultant. You may come across terms that you may have misused and abused and hence not communicated effectively. This is a very useful guide. For those of you who subscribe to the podcast and are interested in creating deeper partnerships, we have an option for you. A 15-second ad will cost you $25. The sponsorship of a season of 12 episodes, that's 3 months, will cost you $300. What sponsorship of a season means is you control the narrative for the period of 3 months. Whether or not you're a guest on those episodes, you will be mentioned, and that will give you a lot more reach and coverage. We have the prices for space in the magazine, of course, as well as the prices of having your page hosted and designed by us. Now, in the last few months, if you've noticed, one of the things that we've tried to, or I've tried to, focus on is intellectual property law. This was after a course in 2015 with Harvard Exchange. It was a course that covered copyright globally, but of course with an emphasis on the American law. So after that, I started looking into East African intellectual property law. Came across a prominent writer and patent attorney from South Africa, so purchased 2 of his books, reviewed 2 of his books, both for the podcast as well as for the magazine, and so gained some insights in terms of what South Africa is thinking, combining its rich mineral resources as well as, of course, its recent inroads in health and biomedicine and patents in that regard. Then East Africa as a region, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. But I covered Tanzania later, which is what I'm doing right now, before I covered Kenya and Uganda. So that is what you'll find in this piece. Interestingly, the Tanzania Startup Association was responsible for a lot of the research I carried out while I was visiting Tanzania and Zanzibar, and all the conversations I had while I was there, very fruitful conversations. And so the insights you'll find in this will be giving you a rough idea of how the law stands in Tanzania, and what the country there is focusing on. Now, my movie of choice for those of you who are interested is Billions. Billions is a series about the world of finance and a man behind this massive business. It pits 2 strong characters together. One, the billionaire on one side, on the other, district attorney who is determined to take him down because he believes much of what he does is criminal. And so it's really a back and forth between the two sides. both presenting strong opinions, both presenting different leadership styles, both not being afraid to cross the line between what is legal and what is illegal. But it provides useful insights for those of you who are into the world of finance, into businesses and acquisitions, mergers. It introduces you to some of the language that you will encounter in the world of high finance, as well as, of course, the complexities that have to do with ethics and business practice. Now, if you are a recent follower, if you listen to some of my conversations, you will notice one of my favorite podcasts is Acquired. It's hosted by two young men, and it's unmatched in the sense that they have podcasts that last about 3 hours, where they do deep dives into companies and talk about the strategies and the history and the founders and all the complexities of the markets and what it takes to be companies of that kind and of that size. One of the things that they do in Acquired is they have a reference to a book called Seven Powers by Hamilton Helmer. And the Seven Powers are actually strategies for foundations for business strategy. Let me read them to you, and then you can do the research on your own. Scale economies, network economies, counter positioning, switching costs, branding, cornered resource, and process power. So you're free to develop those on your own. What I did for myself is I printed out the copy of this magazine. Normally my magazines stay in PDF format, but I printed this out for myself so that I could continue to study these strategies, or business strategy principles or foundations, as well as, of course, apply them to my business practice. One of the initial things that came to my mind when I was thinking about putting together a magazine was to create some sort of reference manual or textbook. A magazine has a short lifespan, but if you can turn it into a reference manual and if you can connect it to some kind of course, then it will have a longer lifespan. So the plan by doing this and by putting educational material into this magazine is not just to provide something that my readers will enjoy, but to also have something that I can glean from and I can learn from. So that's why I printed a copy for myself, especially because I got the 7 powers and I attempted to see how I could apply these 7 powers to my podcast business as well as to my magazine business. So I believe that you can benefit too. What I did is utilize artificial intelligence by asking artificial intelligence to summarize the book, The 7 Powers, Hamilton Helmer's book, and I asked artificial intelligence to summarize the book and give me advice on how to use the 7 powers for business strategy to create a more effective podcast or a more effective magazine. So if you've read some of our pieces before on artificial intelligence, generative AI, by generative AI we mean usually text or images, where you ask artificial intelligence to do something for you in form of text, or you ask it to do something for you in terms of images. Most of the conversations that have emerged out of the space discussing artificial intelligence and robotics and human interaction, there's been fears about how human beings will be replaced by artificial intelligence. And the experts have been telling us that what is going to happen is people are going to have to learn how to utilize artificial intelligence to be more effective in work. So this is one of my attempts to do that. Find a book, find a useful tool. I believe I use ChatGTP. So find a book, find a tool on an artificial intelligence tool, combine the two, to generate insights on business strategy. So, in essence, I asked the book to summarize, or I asked the tool to summarize the book for me, and then use the summaries to generate insights for my business. So, literally, it was an encounter between artificial intelligence and human intelligence to create a suitable outcome for me as a human. So that is the book recommendation, 7 Powers. We have 2 tools that we recommend. One is a tool that is useful in the conversion of MKV files. It's a format I've become familiar with for video in some social media channels. And then also, of course, for trimming. If you have longer videos that you wish to trim, I found another tool. Both of these tools are for Fedora, for those that are Linux users. So for the rest of the magazine, it's just the application that is suitable for my businesses. But of course, you're welcome to request artificial intelligence to help you come up with strategies for your own businesses. Then I have a micro poem and podcast that I listen to. Pattern Breakers, Origins, Masters in Business, Invest Like the Best, Brave Southeast Asia, and Analyze Asia. You also have Something Ventured, Spearhead, Stranded Technologies, African Pre-Seed, of course, Intersection Magazine Podcast, NFX Podcast, Venture Unlocked, and Village Global. That's about it for the month of October. Thank you for listening, and we hope to get you to subscribe.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.